incense burning. All space is filled with the fragrance. All Buddhas smell it from afar. Auspicious clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage, we offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. So I'm very pleased with the outcome of the Dharma talk on Tuesday. When I got I'm moved by signal, right? So I don't all the time. I don't know what I'm doing.
I've got
To trust the signal. I call it a signal, but it's a kind of inner voice, but it's not inner. It's not outer. It's not in front. It's not coming at me. It's like a 360 immersion in some kind of sound that puts me in a direct communication. And when I am open and receptive to that, instead of thinking I know what to do, and instead of doing so much planning that I can't be open to the wisdom that I don't yet have, when I can yield to that, wonderful things happen. So you should know that you're not relying on me at all, but we're together, we are relying on the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions to make things known to us to the capacity and extent that we can have an ear to hear. And this is what makes the difference in our life, and what keeps us out of living in the past, being so consumed and guided by the knowledge that we already have. It keeps us in the divine way of being able to receive instruction and direction. It gives us a kind of confidence that there is that kind of guidance. It's like how babies so totally rely on their parents for safety or a sense of safety. There's no question in their mind initially that they are not safe with them. You know, it's like later when people start being people and you realize it, like maybe, maybe there's a lesson in this for me with this family thing. I've always felt that family, not understanding it as karma, because in the spiritual tradition I was in, we didn't really talk about it that way. But I always felt that family was my retribution. So I endeavored to get over family. They'd always say it's all about the blood, and like them, I found people who loved me more, it seemed, outside of family. So I never took family to be this is the best that there is. These are the best relationships, and these are the ones that I will use to overcome um, whatever I did to inherit them. That's kind of how I held it. Now, those of you who were born in a wonderful family and everybody was cohesive and it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. I would have said at one time I envy you, but I don't say that now because it's easier for me to be a little less attached. And that's a good thing when you're up on the top end. Um, and come in alone, and you also go out alone, and uh, and so we need to be uh, always preparing for the inevitable, uh, because to be born is to die. Um, so I kept trying to put together what I wanted Busita to share, and it just was not coming together. Everything I looked at, well, that'd be all right for you to talk about, but not for her to talk about, you know. And so finally, like, you know how Busita is. She's like, Johnny on the spot, ready. She prepares. And she's like, you can send that over at any time now. And and I didn't, and I was like, okay, I've got it. I had some things, but it was not, it just, you know. So finally I said, unless you have something else. I've got a couple of things, but if you have something, and she called me and says, well, actually, I do, and she shared a little bit of it. And I said, wonderful, wonderful. You just go with that. And I tell you, it is wonderful because as we're moving into meditation, and we have always thought that the Buddhist practice is 90% meditation. We come in the door with meditation. We, and that's our crown that we have that other, spiritual practices may not have. So we think like meditation is king, but meditation is a destination. It's a movement through dimensions, and so you can't practice meditation. Meditation is codependent upon something. And when you go through the steps that it's codependent upon, you are posited in that state of meditation. So to even have the idea that you're practicing meditation is really to have a misguided understanding of what it is. And that's why most people never enter into it, although they practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, because it just needs a little bit of like when you go to the optometrist and he's fixing that lens in front of your eye and saying, how do you see? Say, I'm seeing really good compared to how I was before. This is really great. And he clicks it one more time and says, how about now? And you can't even imagine that your clarity could be that good. I had my eyes done, had my eyes job. We old people get it. And it was for glaucoma and what's that other thing? And cataracts. And every once in a while, like I'll look and things look really good, and then I'll focus on something, and it's just like something corrects in there, and I'm seeing things I haven't seen for a decade, or seeing them so sharply, so crystal clear, and I'm like just amazed. I'm so deeply touched at the beauty of things because I can see them. um, and it's kind of like that as we move through our life, having pierced or penetrated this illusionary dimension, then we start to see things in such a fundamentally crystal clear way. But there's something about the clarity that the beauty is completely on the other side. We don't bring beauty to it. It has its uh, it has its natural it has its natural beauty, and it's a matter of us perceiving it. And when we start to understand this, we stop struggling so much to attain something, to get into a certain mode or a certain posture, because we know it is already perfect as it is. And as my eyes adjust, I will see its true nature. I will see its beauty. I will see its perfection. So, one thing that keeps us from this is our emotional states. And our emotional states keep us wrapped in or tied to a place of neediness that ultimately sickens us if we don't have it. If we don't have it the way we've imagined that it should be, if we don't have it in the way we thought would give us the ultimate satisfaction in life. And so, because we have that expectation seen through the faulty lens of our six sense bases, what we see and what we hear and what we smell and taste and touch and think, because it doesn't give us that ultimate happiness, our suffering is commanded. It is brought forth. And so the practice is about not getting rid of our suffering, but seeing the illusory nature or the falseness, the partiality, the partial, the temporary nature of this reality, this impermanence, and really understanding what impermanence is through direct apprehension and without having the capacity to sharpen our vision so that we can actually see it, we are left with a false impression and we cannot overcome it because we haven't had the kind of operation yet that restores our vision. And so this is not so much a practice of trying to understand something, but it is about allowing ourselves to actually move through the false dimensions to get to what is real, the reality. And when one encounters that, then that's when suffering has no basis, suffering has no platform. It cannot stand. There is no means for it to exert itself into our frame of reference. It falls apart. Suffering collapses. And there's just no suffering because the suffering was based on false appearances. Is everybody still with me? Okay. And so the Buddha master said, if you find somebody who continually points out your faults, stay with that teacher. Said, stay with that one. That's the one you want to leave. You rather go and find somebody who's going to tell you all the good things you do and so on. But you know all the good things you do. Somebody has to tell you, you know all the good things you do. Now, some people might not see it. They don't have to see it, but you should know it. I mean, they don't die with you. When you die alone. You should know. And when you know, that gives you a kind of confidence that allows you to move through the world at ease. When we're not at ease, it's because we're not sure. And so we need other people to give us some assurance that we are okay, that we are valuable, that we are doing a good job, that, that. We need people to give us that assurance. But this is a path where one gains assurance for himself. So much so that, like Jesus, he could lay down his life and say, don't worry about it. Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. That doesn't come through reading, agreeing, but it only comes through building up one's capacity to abandon the selfish attachment to this that we call the person. So in the beginning we use the ignorance, actually they call it the language prajna, language wisdom, but of all the wisdoms, it is the dumbest because it starts at a place of not understanding to try to bring us to a place of understanding something. And in the process of understanding, we start to experience the reality of the things that we didn't understand that are trying to be explained with words, you know. And so we start in this place with these kinds of words and we try to imagine what these words mean and so forth. And it can take a long time if we're trying to filter that through our intellect to figure it out. But for instance, if I'm trying to figure out what hot is, like don't touch fire, that's hot. Like I'm looking at the colors, I'm looking, but I don't know what hot is until I actually touch hot. Now I know what hot is. Can I explain it to you? I can just say, don't touch, hot, you know? But it takes that direct experience to know exactly what it is. So yes, I try to explain it to you, but only when you have an encounter with hot will you know what hot is. And then what kind of hot? There's fire hot, there's temperature hot, there's, what degrees of hot? There's a kabillion degrees of hot. What kind of hot are we talking about here? And so words are our least reliable source of information and knowing, our least reliable. What the Buddha said is our most reliable are what we learn from our actions. That's the most reliable. That's why he said, stay with the one who points out your fault, because that's what causes your suffering. Then he said, well, people think that Buddhism is 90% meditation. He said, but actually, it's 10% meditation and 90% cultivation. So what is that precursor to the expansive openings, the dimensional movement? It's the cultivation. That's why we talk about cultivation all the time. Because when one is well cultivated, one's heart and mind is clear, and one can sit and not be exposed or attached to anything. There's this sublime state that one can enter just as you travel back and forth through those dimensions and you come to know exactly where that is. One can turn one's mind to it, and they are there. So he says that Nibbana is not a place, it's not a faraway place. It's right where one is. There is Nibbana. So we think I'm going to Nibbana, I'm going to Nibbana, because I'm practicing, I'm doing all these things. I'm gonna get there. Like we would sing all of these songs, as about as a Christian about heaven, and one of these days I'm going to go there. And we had our little steps for when we marching on the streets of gold, and all those things. And I'm not saying that there is not a reality, but it is a reality state, is what I am saying. It's a reality state. The only way you get there is that you have to enter into the state. Is it a real place? Yes. How do you get there? You don't travel to it. It is a state one has to enter. And when one enters the state, then one can be in those different realms. And if you don't get anything other than that today, that's a good thing, a good takeaway. That we're not going to get in some vehicle and travel to a destination, but we enter into a certain state and that's what we create, that state. And when we are all of one mind and one heart, then we are in that state together. And so it's important to know your relationships, because their mind is tangled up with your mind and your mind is tangled up with their mind. And in their thoughts and their speech and their actions, they are creating states. And in your thoughts and speech and actions, you are creating states. Now, this takes me to the prayer, the King of Prayers that Lucita offered on Tuesday. And I think it's wonderful. It's long. I mean, if you sit to do this one, before you pick up the modes of traversing states, it can take you a long time. Because I think it's, I don't know how many pages, a lot of them, a lot of pages. But if you could understand how, I'll say quickly for the sake of outside time, how quickly one can move up through those states, like maybe the difference between running up the stairs to the 20th floor versus getting on an elevator and going to the 24th. Between the difference in getting on an old rickety elevator going up to the 20th floor and one of these, I visited a friend, actually a student of mine, and he lived on the 80th floor. Like I came from DC and our buildings are not that high, like maybe, I don't know. Well, back then, I'm old now, but they were only like around 12, 13 stories high. And somebody's living on the 80th story overlooking the one of those lakes, Great Lakes. That elevator went so fast. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was like 5 floors, and we were at the 20th floor already. And then I think we got off on the 20th, or maybe it was the 40th floor, and we got in the next elevator, and it took you up 40 more floors. I don't think the one elevator went all the way. I think you did too. But I looked at this practice is a lot like that. So when we start, we're starting slow and it takes us time. Maybe we get tired or I got something else to do and we can't get through all of these things. But the more we assimilate the essence of the practice, then we'll find like we're just there. We're just there. You can just turn your attention away from that discriminating mind that's engaging right here to that, just as if you were like turning your head like that, and you can be in that state. Now that comes through a shift that occurs in us, and that is the alignment with what our aspiration is, the alignment with it. And it's that shifting of the mind, that puts us purely square in line with the aspiration. Not just talking about it, but bit by bit, one becomes the aspiration. And instead of doing rituals or ceremonies or things like that, or thinking I am doing something, I become that. I become the actual ceremony. I become it. There's no separation between it and me because my mind has been transformed. And so because of the transformations of mind, I enter the state. So Busita sent everybody the King of Prayers. And I want to take a couple of weeks to break it down so that it doesn't just become a recitation. And after it's broken down and one actually enters into the reality of it, one becomes the prayer. It's like being in a room full of flowers or incense, and you abide in that room for a certain amount of time. By the time you leave that room, it's all in your clothes, in your skin. You become that fragrance itself. And when you become that fragrance itself, then you don't need to go to the fragrance for the sweetness. You have become that. You have become that. And that's how we move through the dimensions from that which is temporary, impermanent, false, and full of dukkha to that which is primordially true without dukkha. And that is how we are able to ultimately save living beings. Yes, sometimes it's said, save yourself first. And then it's like if you're in an airplane, they say if the cabin air pressure or whatever gets destabilized, the mask will drop. You know, you've got somebody that you're looking out for, put yours on first so that you can have enough time to put one on and tend to them. Without yours on first, you may fall unconscious or whatever. You're both in bad shape. So there is that idea of saving oneself. But if you wait until you save yourself, maybe nobody will get helped. So you carry both of those, not one even being greater than the other. You start to cut off and sever this kind of differentiation, that everything has to be this or this. There starts to become a blending of view that you can see this and you can see this. That you don't see this and you need to see it this way. So there's both and there's neither. And there is the individual reality. It's present here. I am sitting in this chair talking to you in this building, and I am talking to somebody. And at the same time, that's not true. Ultimately, can you hold both views? Now, we all can hold a view, one or another. But the expansiveness and the true realization comes in being able to hold the many different views that are all true in some capacity, or true in some states. You and maybe you're on the first floor of the building, so you can't speak about the other floors. Maybe you're on the third floor and you can speak about the first, second, and third because you traversed them. And maybe you're on the top floor and you can speak about all the floors. And what you know from the top is more than what's known from the third, is more than what's known from the first floor. So when we speak out of our conviction, maybe we're only speaking from whatever floor window we're peering out of. And that's what trips us up. That's what stumbles us. And so sometimes we need to just be willing to open ourselves up to something that might not be what we know as our cup of tea right now, or tried that, hated it, or maybe had a misunderstanding about it, some kind of theological misunderstanding. Sometimes the person didn't practice what they preached, because they're human. Or maybe through the telling of the story, something got twisted and turned around, but maybe not the whole story is wrong, just some part, and it's created it had such a grievous impact that you just like had to toss it all out. Maybe even for your survival at that time, you know. Maybe when I didn't know how to swim, I couldn't jump in the deep end of the pool. But now that I do, I don't want to be in the 3 foot. I want to be in the deep end. So sometimes something is not forever. And so we have to stay fresh in our inquiry. And this is where training the mind comes in. So we talk about training the mind. People say, but what about the heart? And the heart it's important. But the training of the mind allows one to fully walk in their, what we call, heart, outside of the Dharma. You know? But within the Dharma, it gets tricky with words. Because we say, if I use any word, it's an ordinary word, crafted by an ordinary what? Mind. And that word will stumble you. So we say, I just want to be loved. What does that really mean? It means different things to different people at different times. And we all have our idea of what that is and what that means. And so we don't talk about that much because the world has already defined it for us in certain ways. And that love that we talk about being pure love, that just is magnanimous for everybody, cross me and find out. That's all I have to say, is that all of this love we talk, if the condition ends up being not so much in my favor, then I find other ways to describe what is happening. And that unconditional love suddenly has become very conditional. That was the difficulty I have with talking about unconditional love as a Christian, because we would have it until you disagreed with our theology, or we would have it until we can say all kinds of hateful things to you and then say, God bless you. You know. And so I don't have a lot of use for the word love. Actually, a, a better word for me, a word that encompasses my idea of love more, is friendship. Because I have found love, all kinds of love, even church kind of love. I found it to be conditional. God is, I will if you. That's kind of the expression, except for when we're talking about the great attributes of God being unconditionally. And according to whoever wrote it, his own words are, to those that love me, I'll visit, good things upon you and all your generations. And to those that hate me, you're in trouble. And your generations that follow are in trouble. But now I understand that, because I know the realm, the world of that deity. I know the world of that God. That's why the question that I asked when I left the church, and this is nothing against leaving the church, I'm going to tell you it's really, really good. And people could really, really benefit from it if we weren't stymied by our ordinary behaviors as good spiritual people doing the best that we can. And sometimes our eyes fall on the outer things, and we judge the truth of something by the behavior of the people who are not accomplished. And it can hinder us. That's why we talk in Buddhist practice about the unreliability of the information we take in through the five sense gates. So a lot of stuff gets put on God that God didn't have nothing to do with. It's just our ordinariness not being able to walk in the fullness, even of the aspirations that we hold. But we still hold them, and we still work at them. And so we have this religious notion about spiritual practice that somewhere out here we have a savior, and somewhere out here we have refuge. And what we learn as we go further is that we have to ultimately become our own refuge. And at the same time, there are helps out here who have reached a degree of cultivation and development that they can assist us. And they're called in this prayer lions among humans. And so when we're thinking of this prayer, we're shifting our mind and our notion. And I'm not saying that Debbie disappointed me, so I'm not having confidence in that spiritual teaching anymore. And John broke my heart. I'm not having confidence in that teaching anymore. But they're looking at the ordinary humans who are all trying to make it, because they don't know where to find the lions. They don't know that the lions even exist. And they don't know how to call the lions. But when we learn how, they will come and assist. So this King of Prayers starts with that. You lions among humans, gone to freedom in the past, in the present, and in the future. In the worlds of 10 directions, to all of you, with body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down. Now, just thinking of that, I'm talking about what you're putting into the pot of the mind now, what you're going to feast upon throughout the day for nutriment, what's going to build strong bones and healthy teeth and shiny hair and unwrinkled skin. It's going to become one's whole transformation body, as well as what's in one's mind, as well as how healthy the eyes are, so that what you can see is beyond, you can like pierce through the cataract. And all the 10 directions means that this is without limit, without end. There is no place that is devoid of their presence. And just suppose that were so. What kind of confidence would you have that when you're feeling your weakest, when you're feeling your most timid, when you're feeling your most insecure, when you're feeling your most afraid, when you're feeling like out of control, you can't handle your temper, you can't stop your fear. But what if you knew that you were boundlessly surrounded by those who could help, who support? You know, when somebody helps you with something and you're like, thank you so much. But now we're talking about, and it goes even smaller than every place all around. But let's go back to who he's talking about. With the energy of aspiration for the Bodhisattva way, with the energy for the aspiration of saving me, rescuing me. With a sense of deep respect, and with as many bodies as atoms of the world, to all you Buddhas visualized before me, I bow down. Now your vision is going to start to get a little bit crowded because you've put so many beings of help around you. You have supported yourself. I know they're out there. I don't feel them right now, but I know that they are there. And you are opening yourself. You're not awakening to anything. You're opening yourself to experience their presence. So that'll be our ending song. Do you understand? Yeah. Okay. Oh. No. Mm-hmm. Didn't we do that just a couple of the scratch? Video. Yeah, we did that. I don't mind if the scratch is scratchy. It'll be all right. I think it was making some noise, and I kept saying I wasn't touching anything. There's something in there. Okay. As with as many bodies of atoms of the world, to all you Buddhas visualized before me, I bow down. Visualized. That means that I am creating them. I am seeing this image in my mind's eye. Now, we sort of see in pictures. No, when I'm thinking stop, I don't see STOP. You know, when I'm thinking stop, there's some kind of engagement with a stop. And that's generally how we visualize, unless we have some kind of special kinds of things going on, like we see colors when we hear music and stuff like that. And some people have those, but that's not the common, ordinary experience. And so now I'm having to do something. I'm having to create a field around me. And just take a minute, 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds right now. And just imagining that you're surrounded by beings in whatever form that takes for you, filling the space, coming just throughout all space and time in every direction, drawing nigh to you. Just the sense of their arrival, the sense of their dispatch and coming. And something begins to shift in you. There's a little bit of a sense of security that one feels, that there is help coming, not in an emotional way, but in a reality way, in a real way. It says, with infinite oceans of praise for you and oceans of sound from the aspects of my voice. Infinite oceans of praise. We know how to praise people. We know what words we say or what thoughts we think when we have praise for people, when we can't praise them enough for their qualities or their attributes or the things that they do. Oceans of praise. So it's almost like this is rolling off of your lips in some unspoken way, in waves, just moving out to meet them as they are ascending, to be present with you. Oceans of sound from the aspects of my voice. What are the aspects of my voice? What are the aspects? It's like the qualities of my voice. The anticipation of your arrival. The sweetness in knowing that you are coming. The respect and the veneration that you have for all of these beings as they approach. That's the attitude that one brings to this. Now we're not in meditation, right? We're not in meditation. It says, I am confident the sphere of all phenomena is entirely filled with Buddhas in this way. I'm confident. Now, where did that confidence come from? That's not a trick question. Your own mind. That confidence comes from one's own mind. So before one can have confidence in the words that they speak, they have to have confidence that what they're speaking of is possible. It's just as possible for good things to come our way as bad. It's just as possible for there to be trillions and trillions of beings who are good-hearted and with capacities to help, just as I'm good-hearted in my own way and have some capacity to help. I can imagine there are millions and cajillions of beings greater than I, on a higher plane of understanding and accomplishment than me. I'm calling them forth. I'm entreating them to come to this place. And the quality of that request is what opens the portal for there to be connection. I sing the breathtaking excellences of Buddhists and celebrate all of you gone to bliss. I sing the breathtaking excellence and I celebrate. So there is this factor of celebration. And many Buddhists miss that celebration, but it's got to be there. I mean, it is really an enlightened, one of the enlightenment factors is the enlightenment factor of joy, the enlightenment factor of joy. It's not just reciting something, but it's really imagining that that is a possibility. And sometimes we say, well, when I'll believe it when I see it. But suppose it's I'll see it when I believe it. When I believe in that sense meaning when I open to its possibility. That side is just as apropos as the other. They kind of go in tandem, but depending on where we are on the ignorance to enlightenment scale, believe it when I see it might be predominant in us. But as we keep traversing the realms, it becomes, I see it when I believe it. So it depends on where we are on the spectrum. Beautiful flowers and regal garlands, sweet music, scented oils and parasols, sparkling lights and sublime incense, I offer to you, victorious ones. So now I'm just beautifying my own visual field. I mean, they don't need flowers, they don't need incense. Now I'm beautifying my own visual field, putting something beautiful in front of me and offering things that we consider beautiful in this world, that lift us, that, whatever things like that, offering them. And all of this is coloring the mind. Free of karma, afflictions, and interfering forces, just as the lotus blossom is undisturbed by the water's wave, just as the sun and the moon move unhindered through the sky. I just want to, am I on the wrong page? Because that doesn't go, okay, sorry. Fine dress and fragrant perfumes, sandalwood powder, heaped high as Mount Meru, all wondrous offerings in spectacular array. I offer all of this to you, virtuous ones. I had a practice when I was a Christian that if I wanted to buy something for my home, I bought something for my church first. I bought something for what we call God's house. Whenever I bought something like clothes or for adornment. I bought something that was needed in in the church first. Like when I noticed tattered curtains, or if we needed more robes for our choir, or I always wanted to offer something for God's house, that it was as beautiful as my home was. Now that's an attitude. I'm not telling anybody to go out here and buy anything for Heartwood. I'm just talking now about the attitude that catapults one onto a certain platform that no amount of chanting is going to put you at. I'm just being honest with you. It's not you can't buy your way into it. But but I'm thankful that I had that kind of training, because I don't have to try to learn it when I'm all set in my ways and struggling to get out of them, or too blind to even see that I'm in them, that I had the good fortune to have that kind of training. So that every time I went in there, I wanted to do something. I was always, can I sweep? Can I mop? Can I, and in the beginning, like they don't even want to let you do anything, because then somebody, and I went there and I had to sweep. And, so they wouldn't even let you do anything until they felt a certain depth of sincerity. This is what you truly wanted to offer for all the benefits that you receive. And the benefit is not having somewhere to go because we have no AA meeting today. The benefit was because it brought a certain brightness to your life. The benefit was how it changed you on the inside and became necessary to your very breathing. And I'm going to tell you, this is not exactly the same way that I came, but this is a way that will take you there. With transcendent offerings, peerless and vast, with profound admiration for the Buddhas, with strength of conviction in the Bodhisattva way, I offer and bow down to all victorious one. So if someone were doing this as a prayer, they may only do that much, because that's so much to not read, but that's so much to turn one's eyes towards. So you might only do 2 or 3 of these stanzas and just sit and bask in the sweetness of that mind, And if you look at it, it's not their mind that you're basking in, but you're actually developing and conjuring up the sweetness that is in one's own mind. So this is you bringing up your own sweetness. All of this is what you're offering. This is not anything they're offering you. This is coming out of your own mind, out of your own heart, out of your own realization that if such beings exist, if they don't exist, then there's no harm, no foul. You ain't talking to nobody. If they do exist, then you are establishing a relationship that is par excellence. And you're dropping deep into the wellspring of all of the loveliness that's in you and the sayings that you can utter that are so sublime and all-encompassing. You keep talking like that, there's no room for you to talk ugly. There's just no space there. Your mind doesn't turn to that. Your mind just starts to turn in this way. That's why I say don't do too many of these, because it'll just become blah, blah. Like blah, blah, and you're getting through it, and yeah, I agree. But you have to tap into every stanza. And you may find some stanzas that resonate with you more than others, that touch you in a way that make you just weep because it touches a sore spot that needed healing. And with your own words, you have healed yourself. I offer and bow down to all victorious ones. Is that what I read? With transcendent offerings? Okay. Well, I want to read it again. With transcendent offerings, peerless and vast, with profound admiration for all the Buddhas, with strength of conviction in the Bodhisattva way, saving living beings, I offer and bow down to all victorious ones. So I'm saving my energy and my effort for engagement with the victorious ones, instead of thinking like how I'm going to get you straight tomorrow when I see you, or I'm not going to say anything, but inside I'm thinking about it. I'm crowding out the space for other thoughts, is what I'm doing. Clearing the room and perfuming the atmosphere. They have this kind of thing in it, and you spray it. It's for stink in the room, and so it doesn't just mask it, but it neutralizes it. So that's what we're doing. We're neutralizing. This is not involving anybody else now. This is just me clearing the space, my interior space that may be full of pain, rightfully so pain. I'm not talking about makeup, make-believe pain. I'm talking about real pain that's based on things, But yet you're finding a way to subdue and to provide comfort to oneself just by the virtue of calling upon the holy beings in the 10 directions. I lift up my heart. No, every harmful action I have done with my body, speech, and mind, overwhelmed because I was attached, because I was angry, because I was confused. All these I openly lay bare before you. So you see where one is going. They're not going to what she made me do, what he did to me. He's not going to any of that. It's like that, they can't help me. I'm going to the victorious ones in the 10 directions. That's who I want to sup with now and communicate with now. And I start by just them, the overcomers, and me, the one who is not yet overcome. With looking at myself with every harmful action I have done with my body, speech, and mind. Why? I was just overwhelmed by attachment or by anger or by confusion. But all of this I openly lay bare before you. So they talk about these offerings in the beginning. We make all of these sublime offerings, and they say only offer the best and only imagine the best. And so one time I was telling Busita, and so I'm going to correct this now, Busita, that I have a practice of casting everything that whatever I'm clinging to, that's what I hold as sublime. That's what I'm holding as all important. And it may be ought against you, so I'm holding that. I cast that at their feet. I give up the thing that's most important to me, that I'm most attached to. I give that as well as all of the beautiful things I conjure up, the things that I'm actually holding is mine, and I'm going to keep them, or I can't let them go. These feelings, these views, these wants, I said, I offer them. So instead of saying, offer, I would say, I openly lay these things bare before you. So yes, we offer the greatest and the best, but we must also lay down the things that we cherish the most. All these I openly lay bare before you. And I lift up my heart and rejoice in all the merit of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions, of the solitary realizers, of the hearers still in training, and those beyond, and of all ordinary beings. You who are the bright lights of worlds in 10 directions, who have attained a Buddha's omniscience through stages of awakening, all you who are my guides, please turn the supreme wheel of Dharma, and I would say, for me. That's taking reliance in. When you turn the wheel of Dharma for me, that brings it up close and personal. It brings it into my sphere. It's not like a Dharma forever established in heaven. In Christianity, we would call that Rhema, the ultimate, Logos, the ultimate truth. But the Logos can't help me. I need a Rhema in my life. I need some truth personally revealed to me that I can know it all together and be absorbed in it. And so now this is the Dharma wheel turning and moving and turning to impact my life and allow me to have the realizations that they have. I can't get by on theirs. I gotta have my own. So it's not asking them to save me. The saving is turning the wheel of Dharma, allowing the teachings to come through that I might take them up and perfect myself. With palms together, I earnestly request you who may actualize paranirvana, please stay with us for eons numberless as atoms of the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wanderers in samsara. That's throughout all times, for the beings here and for the beings that are to come. Please stay. Whatever slight merit I may have created by paying homage, offering, and acknowledging my faults. And so there is merit in acknowledging faults. That's why we should not be, I'm not talking about the way we judge ourselves and we like constantly flagellating ourselves. I'm so unworthy. But I'm talking about acknowledging what's a little perk there that needs to be overcome, needs to be corrected by keep looking at it, by keep shining the light. If you find a bug that likes to stay in the dark and you never cut on the light in that room, then he's going to have a long life. But if you keep turning the light on, he's going to find some other space. And so that's how we run the bugs out of our mind, by continually turning the light on in there. And it's a little easier to do that when we're feeling good. It's very difficult to do that when we're overcome by circumstances. So if there's this much merit in doing it when we're feeling good, how much merit do you think is available, is generated when we do it when it's hard to do? So that starts to become our motto, to be able to do the things that are hard to do, to make the choices that go against, run counter to our attachments. Matter of fact, the Buddha said that's the greatest and the fastest work we can do is when we're doing the things that are hard to do and giving the things that are hard to give. So I was like, wait a minute, are we going to have fun on this journey somewhere? I mean, is it going to be, no, not in the way that you think, you know. Actually, it's as one begins to grow and develop confidence in the path, and they're walking the path. So that's, you know, a mutual confidence in one's self. That's where the happiness comes in. You know, it's like this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. That's why the world can't take it away. The joy that I'm finding is being able to overcome the vicissitudes of the world. And it's a certain kind of joy that's not, it's not sticky. It's you certainly don't attach to it because it's not based on a craving. It's based on freedom, which is the opposite of craving. So craving is a poor substitute for free. Craving and even getting what you want is a poor substitute for freedom, but it's the world's substitute for freedom. We think that our freedom is getting the things that we want, but the true freedom is not necessarily craving anything. And things come in and they can be good and we can use them, enjoy them. They go out, they're gone. That's it. And so there's a kind of stability that one gets that they're not going to go. I was on a boat, and because I drowned once, but I'm not talking about the near-death experience now. I'm just talking about when I'm on the water and things are moving, it's okay if they move to a certain degree. But if they start moving too much, you know, I have that flashback about what if I learn, even when I watch a picture of people on the ocean or something like that, you might be looking, I don't know, when you look on the TV, is that 2D? What is that? That's 2D? Okay, so you looking at a screen and that's the boat on the water and it's nothing but water and waves lapping. And you looking at that at 2D, I'm looking at it in 5D because I've been in it in a way that I could not get out. And so it's difficult for me to even watch movies like that that have a lot of water scenes in them because of the drowning. Now, after the drowning, after the death part, the separation was fine. It was the drowning part that wasn't so good, you know. But after that was over, there was something lovely and wonderful. And so I don't have a fear of death. I haven't since that time had a fear of death. I still have a fear of pain. And when I find the level of meditation that completely uproots all sense of pain for me, then I won't have fear of pain. Right now, I have not discovered that. So I do have, an aversion to pain. But a lot of things that I had an aversion to, I no longer have an aversion to. That's what's up, you know, and I can just roll through that. A lot of times with people who are very adversarial, you know, if my mind has been sweetened and it's holding that sweetness, they can act out, and I'm so embarrassed for them to, you know, show themselves in that way. You know, and I try to say something that will like just de-escalate or I know, you know, and try to bring it down. But now if my mind is not holding that sweetness, then something else, whatever is the flavor of the mind, that's going to be what comes what comes up. So you can know where people stand by how, what comes out. And you do your best. And if you didn't make your best, you do your second best. Just don't go rogue, you know. Just don't go rogue like I'm gonna go back to my baddest me then. But find stoppers to keep you from devolving to that. And it takes effort in that moment. That's our work. That's our work until there is no more. And so we have all day to reflect. I know your mind is running all day. It's just, what is it running towards? What is it thinking about? I was telling Lucida, I don't hardly. I know I sleep at night, but at night I'm busy. I'm all night long. And what you might call waking up in the morning is I'm not waking up because I haven't been asleep. I just opened my eyes, but it's not waking up because, okay, I'm going to open them in a few minutes, 5 more minutes, 15 more minutes, whatever. And then, well, I guess I should go ahead and get up now and open my eyes because all night I'm like right at that conscious gate or level between sleep and awake, but more awake than sleep. And so I like run a 24-hour day. That's how it is for me now. So if you're going to be awake 24 hours, you need to have a lot of this under your belt, or you'll just wear yourself out. The state of the mind is what's going to run. And if you have the clarity, not the clarity is more than seeing something clearly. Clarity also involves the fortitude, the will, the interest, the aspiration, and the determination to walk in what you have clarity about. It takes all of those other pieces. So this is not an overnight deal. This is just slowly, gradually polishing the mirror. Why? Because you see the benefit. So start small and look for the benefits. Tag on to the benefits, you'll see more benefits. That's it. And you know that you are creating the conditions for those benefits to arise, to multiply, and to come to full fruition. Do I have a clock somewhere? Okay. So it says, I lift up my heart and I rejoice in all of this merit. There's some other stuff going on, but I'm not going to give that any praise. I'm not going to give that any glory. I'm not going to, I'm going to look here at the benefits of this mind, believing that this mind has the power to generate and bring forth fruit after its kind. You who are the bright lights of the world in the 10 directions, who have attained a Buddha's omniscience through the stages of awakening, all you who are my guides, please turn the supreme wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly request you who may actualize Parinibbana, stay with us for eons, numberless as atoms of the world, for the happiness and the well-being of all wanderers, all wanderers, people just like me, beings just like me, not just human beings, all wanderers in samsara. Whatever slight merit I may have created by paying homage, offering, and acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddhas stay and teach, I now dedicate all this for full awakening. And that's a good place to stop. That is almost a, a complete washing of the mind. Um, so that's a good one. I think we'll start on the next one, because we have to talk about that a little bit. Free of karma. What does that, and afflictions, what does that mean? And how does one begin to get free of karma and afflictions? And what is karma and why are we practicing? What does that do to ripening karma? So I think we need to have a little bit more of an understanding about that. So remember, when we finish all of this, we will only be at contemplative illumination. Still haven't gotten to meditation. When we finish this whole process, we'll just be at contemplative illumination, because the more we cook this and brighten it, the more it brightens for us. That is illumination, you know. And so we have to have a fullness of this until we're almost like, what did they say? Blinded by the light, that it burns up all that we see through our false senses, that which gives us the wrong idea, the wrong impression, the wrong view, wrong meaning, that which hurts us and causes us to hurt others. That illumination out of which shift occurs. I'm talking about not even just something spontaneously shifting, but something shifting to such a great degree that you are forever changed, you're forever different. That kind of shift. That it almost seems too much, too good to be true, unreal, drastic. My brother had a 30-second encounter, and he was completely different from being thieving, cutthroat, terrible, to going around just praying for hundreds of people that they would have an encounter without the one he had, which was an accident and a NDE. He died there, and he said, if you give me another chance, and let me go back to that body, I'll live for you. I didn't know. And he went back into that body, and he became 180 degrees different. Not 360, because that brings you back around, after the experience died down, but 180. I'm talking about that kind of change, that kind of shift is possible. And it's what we talk about. It's what we say we want. But how many of us really believe that it's possible? How many really believe that our sorrow can be turned to joy? How many of us really believe that our anguish can be instantaneously secured just in one moment of inspirational connection with the millions and millions of beings who have this bright, luminous mind. Don't you know it only takes one encounter for the shift to occur? And if one can hold that one encounter, just reflecting upon it again and again, it'll grow brighter and brighter, and it won't be a one-time gig. It will start, you will just transform along with it, and you will actually become it. That's the difference in Buddhism and Buddha Dharma. This is not a thing that you can study, although you must study it, but it becomes something that you are, a Buddha. And it's 1:32, so I'm ending almost on time. Well, they did appear. No, I don't think we'll do the song now, because to ask them to descend is to proclaim that they were naive. But the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas were here. Someone can offer up merit for this time.
Benefit the merit from this beautiful teaching together today to all suffering beings. May they find ease, may they be supported with the teachings of the Dharma, may they have peace and good fortune.
And may they hold on and hold out until their change comes.